UseEffect, besides useState, is the most important React hook you have, so you need to understand it. Therefore, I again want to make it clear at which point of time, which part of UseEffect kicks in and executes. And for this again here in the login component, I'll add a new UseEffect call where I only add this first argument. So for the moment, no second argument. And in there, we can log effect running. Now, at the moment, we have no information about the dependencies. We just have this first argument. And this is a valid way of using it, though you will rarely use UseEffect like this. The reason for this is that if I reload, you see it runs when the component first mounts. So when this login component is rendered for the first time. But then also for every state update. For example, if I click in here and click out of there, we see effect running. For every keystroke, we see effect running. So this really now runs for every time this component function reruns, because you learned this effect function runs after every component render cycle. Not before it and not during it, but after it, including the first time this component was mounted. Now, this changes once we add an empty array. Now, this function here only executes for the first time this component was mounted and rendered, but not thereafter, not for any subsequent re-render cycle. So we see effect running here, but for the keystrokes, we don't see it. Now, if I log in, we also don't see it again. So it really only ran once. Alternatively, we add a dependency like entered email or entered password. Now this function here reruns whenever the component was re-evaluated and this state in this case here changed. So if I now log out and reload, we see effect running for the first time this was mounted. But now for keystrokes in the email, nothing changes. For keystrokes in password, we see effect running though, because the password is a dependency. We also have the cleanup function, which we can return. This cleanup function runs before this state function as a whole runs, but not before the first time it runs. So here I will again log effect cleanup, save this. We see only effect running here for the first render cycle. For the email, nothing happens. That's a different cleanup log. This is coming from our other effect. So effect cleanup did not print yet. But once I start typing in the password, we see effect cleanup being triggered, and it triggers before the effect function runs. Now, if we had an empty array here, so no dependencies, we learned that we only see effect running once, and the cleanup function in this case would run when the component is removed. So in this case, for example, when I log in and the component is removed from the DOM, we see effect cleanup. So that's how UseEffect works and how the different parts of it are related and when they execute. Really important to understand this. So if it's not 100% clear at this point, definitely go through those last lectures again to make sure it is clear.